Hello there, we're back again. We are now doing chapter 21b, the first part. Alrighty? What are we talking about? The defense mechanisms. What is in our body to help us fight off pathogens? Okay, first thing is the 3 lines of defense. Okay? First, second, third line of defense. And I have highlighted what's the most important thing to know about it. The first line of defense, which is your skin and the mucosa in your eyes, in your ears, in your nose, and in your mouth. Got it? Because they're open. It's not closed like your skin is. But they have to defend us by doing what? They prevent the pathogens coming in. That's why intact skin is the best prevention for getting something that makes you sick. Because if there's no cuts, no scrapes, they're on the outside and they can't come in. Alrighty? That's what your skin is, keratinized, and you have a bunch of dead cells on top, the stratum corneum, and they can't dig their way in. Right? Okay. So that's the first line. Stop them from coming in. Uh-oh, they got in. Now it's time for the second line of defense. Well, what's its job? Stop them from spreading. Wall them off in one area using inflammation. Got it? Or if they got into your blood, use a fever to slow them down. Got it? And that's what it is. Stop the spread of these invaders. And that's what the majority of today's lesson is going to be. The third line of defense is very specific. That's your B and T cells. Okay? They are designed for one pathogen each. Okay? 1. And why? Because it's all about shape, shape, shape. Do they have the right shape on their receptor that recognizes the shape of a bad guy? Got it? So, yes, the 1 B cell and the 1 T cell with this receptor is ready to identify and therefore take care of business for that particular shape thing. But, is this the right for this shape? No. So there's hope, thank goodness. You've got billions of different ones. There may be one in the bunch with a shape like this that fits this shape. 10-4? And that's why I was really tough in 210 talking about the most important thing about a protein is that it can come in lots of different shapes. That's why enzymes are proteins. All of your receptors are proteins, and all of your antibodies are proteins because they can come in different shapes. And have you ever heard of a family that seems to never get sick, and a family that seems to get sick every winter? Yeah. The difference is the one that doesn't get sick has a lot more white blood cell, B and T cells, with more chances of having the right shape for whatever the bad guy is this year. And the people who get sick all the time don't. Got it? It's genetic as to whether or not you can fight off 1 billion bad guys or just 500 million bad guys. 10-4? Okay. All right, so another way to look at this is this. Now, you want a picture? Yeah. No, hold on. I think I got this from another book. Did I? Yeah, right here. Okay? I kind of like this too because it's one shot. Got it? You can see it right there. This is your first line, second line, third line. Okay? The first line, stop them from coming in. Uh-oh, they got in. Here are all the things we do in the second line of defense. We've got big eaters. They don't care who the bad guy is. You're a foreigner. Chomp. Got it? Running a fever. Does a fever care who it is? No. Then you have natural killer cells. They too don't care who it is. You have antimicrobial proteins like interferon complement, which we're going to talk about. Okay? They don't care who it is. And inflammation, redness, swelling. They don't care who it is. Got it? But working hand in hand are your B cells and T cells because they are specifically designed to go after polio or measles. Got it? They're designed to go after that shape. I mean, they weren't born saying, gosh, I'm against polio. No, I got this shape and gee whiz, polio is that shape. Got it? And we wake them up by giving you a vaccination for polio. Got it? We introduce the shape of the bad guy so your body can say, oh, okay, yeah, you can't recognize it, but you can. So quick, multiply yourself. And once you've been awakened, once you've been activated, now if the real polio comes along, you'll build an army of yourself. You'll duplicate yourself to the point that the polio doesn't stand a chance making you sick. Got it? That's why you don't have to have a booster for polio or a booster for MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. You had it once as a child and you're ready to go. 10-4. I think I mentioned this in the class the other day. Speaking of polio, when it happened here, it was devastating, okay? Because it attacks your horn, your motor horn cells in your spinal cord. So if it happens here, you're paralyzed from here down. If it happens here, you're paralyzed from here down. Got it? But it's endemic. It's in the ground. It's in the water in places like India. How come they're not all in iron lungs and wheelchairs? Because what do we do as kids when we're outside? What's this, right? Well, guess what? Little pieces wake up your immune system. So they're already immune without having to have a vaccination. They're already immune to the diseases that are endemic in their location. Right. Got it? Okay. So, I'm not saying throw your kid in a mud puddle, or drag them behind the boat in the swamp. No, but there's nothing wrong with them being outside or being on the floor or letting the dog lick them, okay? They're getting little pieces of pathogens for their white blood cells to wake up. Got it? You activate the one that can see that shape, and you activate the one that can see that shape. Okay? And that keeps them healthy for the rest of their life. Got it? Good immune system. All right, do I have anything else? No. Okay, that's all the B and T cells. All right. What is next? Those are the three. Oh, signs of inflammation. I think we know what that is. There you go. Now, is Mr. Weber going to be nice or Mr. Weber going to be mean? Yes. You know the English words, so I want you to learn the Latin words. Okay? The words that were spoken by Hippocrates, actually they're Greek, I think, when he first wrote about inflammation. He used those 4 words, and they're still correct today. These are the 4 things that are the cardinal, most important signs of an inflammation. So, the reason I want you to know them in Latin is because you've seen these words before in English. Ever heard of a calorie? Well, that is a measurement of heat energy. Got it? So when that area gets hot, it's called calor. Got it? Rubor. Well, what color is a ruby?
Red.
Because rubor means red. Okay? What's a tumor? It's not a tumor, right? It's a swelling, right? Well, we still use the word tumor for swelling now. Got it? The only one you may not be familiar with is dolor. Unless you're really good at English, there is a word called dolorous, which means you are sad because you're in pain. Got it? Okay. But dolor is the only one that would be like new. The new word for you. Cool beans? But that's it. Typical inflammation, redness, swelling, pain, and it feels hotter than anywhere else.
On the test, are you going to ask something like, what are the 4 signs, and it's going to be these words?
Yeah.
And you just have to pick the right ones? Okay.
Right. And I can also say my favorite word. What's my favorite 3-letter word on a test? Starts with a W. H.
Wait.
Y.
Why?
Why?
Oh, okay.
Why does this happen? Remember, if you can understand or explain why something is happening, you'll never forget that it's happening. Okay? So, why does it turn red? Because all the blood vessels are opening up in that area. And what color is blood? Red. Okay? Why is it getting hot? Because there's going to be white blood cells fighting in there to go after the bad guys. We're going to be building new tissues for the damaged areas. So there's a lot of activity going on. The more action, the more activity, the warmer it gets. Okay? Why is there a swelling? Because again, the blood vessels are opening up to get in there. You want to get in there with clotting proteins so you can clot it off. You want to get in there with white blood cells to kill off the bad guys. You want to get in there with all sorts of other kind of chemicals. And all of that's happening in one area. Plus, your blood vessels might leak because they're getting bigger, so they have more leakage. That's why there's edema in that area. Okay? That's the swelling. And why does it hurt? Because the swelling is pushing on the local nociceptors. Got it? Now, you might say to yourself, why do you want it to hurt?
So you don't make it worse?
Yeah, so you take care of it. Got it? If you didn't know you were infected, wouldn't it get worse and worse and worse? And isn't that exactly why people with diabetes mellitus, that's runaway, they're not on medication like they should be, that's why their feet and their legs have to get amputated? Because the blood vessels have constricted to the point that they're not delivering blood, which kills the nerves in your feet. So if you do get a cut and you do get infected, are there any nociceptors saying ow? And all of a sudden you look down, your toes are turned black, which means they're now deceased, they've been necrotic, and they have to be amputated. Got it? One of my students told me a couple of semesters ago she was working at the nursing home, and one of her jobs was to make sure that she checked her patient's feet, in the morning. And so she said, okay, Mr. Jones, time to go to breakfast, and pulled back the sheets, and 4 of his toes were laying in the bed. They had popped off in the night. She goes, okay, maybe not right now. She had to go to the supervisor. What do I do? But you can't go, oh my God, your toe. You can't do that. Got it? But yeah, they just pop off if you don't take care of it. So, necrosis, not a good thing. Alrighty. Now, next thing, the chemicals. The non-specific chemicals that we're going to watch. Okay? Here they are. Enzymes, interferon, defensins. You see, that's all your PowerPoint would have. Mr. Weber said, no, I'm going to show you these things. So it makes a little more sense. I just picked these off the internet. Got it? Okay. So, number 1 is enzymes. What's an enzyme do? Snip something in half. Well, if that's the bad guy, he goes into the active site and whoop, magic, we snip him in half. Well, if you snip a bad guy in half, he's had it. Got it? So you've lysed them. You've destroyed them. 10-4? So that's 1. And does this enzyme care who it is? No. It fits the active site, so it does its job. But it's not specific. It just, hey, it fits. Off we go. All right, next. Collected. Look at the name. What's it going to do to all these bad guys? Collect them together. It's going to, agglutinate or aggregate. Got it? Together. So now, instead of a macrophage having to find each of these individuals, hey, here's a big clump. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Pac-Man says, I'll eat that. That's easy. Got it? Okay? So that's what collectives do. And when you do that, it effectively reduces the virulence. Remember, virulence means how much can it make you sick? Well, if most of the bad guys are clumped together, they can't make you as sick as if they were all individually released into different parts of your body, through the blood. Defensin. All right? Look at defensin. It puts itself into the membrane, and then these two come together, and these two come together. When they come together, you effectively split the outside of the membrane. Well, if you split the membrane, isn't the inside of the bacteria going to leak out? And he's going to die because we split his protective coating, his cell membrane. Cool beans? They integrate into the pathogen cell membrane, cause the membrane to break open. And that's the end of the pathogen. once again, do these chemicals care who the bad guy is? No. They just slip in there and do their thing. All right. Now the other ones we have to take a little more time on. Interferon and complement. All right? What is this word in English?
Interfere.
To interfere. If I'm interfering with you, what am I doing?
Preventing you from doing something.
Preventing you from doing whatever it is you want to do. Interferon is going to prevent viruses from multiplying. Here's how it works. Ready? We have to do a quick review of how a virus works. All right? Here's our cell, here's our nucleus, and here's our green DNA. All right? There is the virus. Now, viruses are actually 10 times smaller than this. They're so small you can't see them with a microscope, you need an electron microscope. But we'll just draw it big enough you can see it. Okay? Most viruses have a protein capsule, some legs, which are basically like receptors, that land on your cells, and a piece of their own DNA on the inside. All right? What does a virus do when it lands? It shoots its DNA into your cell. That DNA will then hijack your cell. It will incorporate itself inside your DNA, changing your DNA, and instead of that liver cell making liver proteins, or your skin cell making whatever proteins that day, all of a sudden we've hijacked, and what are we making now? Pieces of viruses. Got it? And that's why when somebody uploads the wrong, you click the wrong thing on a computer and you might upload a what? A virus. Think about it. Is the virus multiplying itself, or is your computer being forced to multiply the virus? Your computer is being forced. And then your computer will then send those new viruses to all of your friends on the internet. Got it? That's how it spreads. You didn't send it to anybody. It sent itself. And that's what's happening here. So we build a whole bunch of viruses with their own little DNA in there until this fills up, and boom, out they come. So here's your cell. It's not functional anymore because it's not making what it's supposed to make. It's now spending its whole time, like a zombie, making viruses. It opens up, and now 1 million new viruses land on 1 million more of your cells. Is that a good idea? No, not fun, but that's what it is. 10-4? All right. And because of that, viruses are called obligate intracellular parasites. Okay? What does that mean? They have to, obligation, they have to be where? Inside your cell. They can't do anything on the outside. Inside your cell, and they're parasites because they're using your food, your energy, your ATP. And here's the thing you might not know. Viruses are considered non-living entities. Why? Because everything that makes us alive, they don't do. They don't eat, they don't breathe, they don't make anything, they don't use ATP, they don't use oxygen. Got it? But they are a piece of DNA that can hijack your DNA, and now suddenly you become a viral factory. Your cell is a virus factory. 10-4? Okay, so, and here's the worst part. Every time there's a flu, why do people have to have another flu shot? Because the flu can change. And here's why. When the bad guy puts his DNA inside here, sometimes it comes out with its DNA and a piece of yours. So now this is a new flu. It's not the same one that came in. It's different. Got it? That's how they evolve. Okay? Do you realize that most flus start as bird flu, which then gets into a pig and becomes bird-pig flu? And then the pig coughs on a person, now it becomes bird-pig-human flu. And then it changes into human-to-human flu. Got it? Where do most flus start? Here in South Carolina? No. Think about the old names that they used to call it. The Hong Kong flu, the Asian flu. Where did it all come from? Yeah. Okay, Southeast Asia. Why? Because there it is normal for birds, pigs, and people to be this close together. Think about it. When we are, hey, my uncle, runs a chicken farm. Are the chickens in his house? Or are they in a chicken thing way over there? Exactly. Okay, somebody's uncle is a pig farmer. Are the pigs living in your house? They're way over there. Got it? And usually you're not a pig and a chicken farmer at the same time. You're one or the other. Well, in small family farms in rural Asia, it's 1 or 2 pigs, 10 or 15 chickens, and because they're afraid the neighbor might steal them, and that's your livelihood, they keep them on the first floor of their house. They live upstairs on the second floor, but the animals are down there. Well, what if the birds got the flu from another bird? He's right there coughing on the pig. And the farmer comes down to his herd, makes everything okay. Pig coughs on the farmer. There's your transition. Now it's human. He coughs on wife. Wife takes it to the market. Everybody in the market gets sick. See how that spreads? Yeah. And it will change. That's why we have to keep looking. Every summer, here, it's winter there. And then we're swabbing people's throats to see what's the number 1 flu hitting in the Asian areas. So we can make a vaccine against it. So that by the time it gets over here in the winter, we'll have a vaccine for it. Got it? Now, that doesn't always work because maybe the number 1 flu doesn't come over, it's number 2, the second most powerful, and we don't have a vaccine yet for it. That did happen once. All of a sudden, young people started dying. Not hundreds, but sick, couple of dead. Not old people. Usually it's the old people that get it. Got it? Immunocompromised. And I don't take the flu shots because I've never had the flu, so I think my immune system is pretty healthy. But, so they had to scramble to make a flu shot for this new young people flu. This is, I think, 15 years ago. Well, guess what? By the time they invented the vaccine and got it ready to go to market, it was over. And they had to dump, $10 million worth of flu vaccine.
It's only good for the one.
Yeah, it's good for that one season. Because it's basically made of living viruses and, or living, so it's going to have an expiration date. Okay. All right, now, that's the coronavirus, all righty, with these spike proteins that stick to the surface of your lung cells. Got it? It's a lung disease, all right? It's called corona because it reminded somebody of the corona of the sun's rays. Okay. And this is how the new vaccine works. This is the coronavirus vaccine, which is not a piece of dead coronavirus like the polio and the MMR. This is extracting the message in the virus, turning it into MMR, messenger RNA, and then shooting the messenger RNA to make you create spike proteins so that you can build antibodies against the spike proteins. Got it? So there is no need to build a bunch of viruses like the old days. You grew them in millions of eggs, and then you heat treated them. Got it? And that's why it took time. This is a new way to do it, but don't get me started. There's a lot of side effects to this, folks. Okay? All right. So, what are we looking for? Interferon. So, what's interferon going to do? It interferes with this virus. And here's the picture. Look. Here's Mr. Virus. He lands. He puts in his DNA to hijack this cell's DNA. Got it? And what's this cell doing? Making more viruses. However, in a last-ditch effort, before it gets completely taken over, it creates a message in messenger RNA and creates these little blocking proteins called interferon. The interferon goes to the neighbor cell, lands on an interferon receptor, got to be the right shape, and that tells the DNA of the neighbor, I need you to build a blocking protein, and that blocks the virus from coming in. So if it blocks the virus, who is saved? The neighbor. Who is not saved? The original host. And that's my test question. Who's hurt and who is saved using interferon? It's not everybody. He's still going to die because he's making viruses. He's been hijacked. But in a last-ditch effort, we can send a message to the neighbor to try to preserve his life, okay? By interfering with viral replication.
Is that like almost like a paracrine where it only affects?
Yeah, it's a paracrine. You're 100% right. It's only next door. Yeah, it's not going to go long distance. It's a next door thing. Okay.
Would the saved cell do the same thing for its neighbor cell, or
no? Because it's just saving itself. Remember, what made you create the interferon is getting sick. Got it? So, so you're saving your neighbors, but you're not saving yourself. So the first cells that got infected are in trouble. Now, I don't think this is it. Now, that's just Blistex. But there is a chemical called Abreva for cold sores. Cold sores are caused by a herpes virus. Got it? And the blister is the cells popping full of viruses. Got it? So don't be kissing somebody when you got all that stuff coming out, got it? Because you're going to give it to your loved ones. Does that make sense? And don't do this, say, hey, how you doing? Don't do that either. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but Abreva is made with interferon. And the commercial says, even the box says, if you use Abreva early on, it makes the cold sore be 3 days less. Got it? Why? Because you're now spreading interferon to help a bunch of neighbor cells. Now, the original cells, they're still going to blister and pop. Got it? But it won't spread all the way across. Got it? If you put the Abreva on. Make sense? Okay. All right. Next is the complement protein. Now, again, complement with an E in the middle. Complement with an I means you look very nice today. That's a compliment. This is complement, the root word being complete. Got it? You complete me, meaning it goes together. All righty? So, complements. It helps, it enhances your immune response. By doing what? By making everything happen faster. We call that a cascade. Another name for cascade is an avalanche. You've seen an avalanche before in the movies, right? A little bit of snow at the top, and boom, 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 it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and at the bottom of the hill, it knocks over all the houses. Got it? Okay. So it's going to amplify all aspects of your inflammatory response. So it's helpful. We need this. What does it do? It increases your inflammation, the 4 words we did earlier. But there's another kind of complement. There's many complements. There's one complement that creates a tasty environment. Got it? When this complement lands on a bad guy, it's like adding powdered sugar to the donut. And that makes the macrophage, that's what I want. Got it? And that process is called opsonization, because the word opsonin means tasty. Okay? And a third way that complement can help us kill a bad guy is that it will land on the bad guy and drill holes in it. That's called the MAC attack. Okay? Membrane, attack complex. Got it? It drills holes. Well, if you drill holes on the inside of a bad guy and all the insides come out, you've killed him. Got it? Okay. So complement can do 3 things. All right. What else? Well, the purpose of interferon and complement, I just did it. Okay? All right. How about the steps of phagocyte mobilization? Get them going. Got it? Get them going. Get them mobilized. All right. White blood cells obviously are in your bone marrow because that's where they are created. All right? And the ones we're talking about are the non-specifics. We're not talking about B and T cells. Got it? That's the next video. What we're talking about here is your typical neutrophils, which are your number one bacteria eaters, number one bacteria slayers, okay? So here's what happens. We get leukocytosis. The white cells start getting active because they're released from the bone marrow in response to inflammatory chemicals that were released into your blood by the damaged tissue. Got it? So the damaged tissue says, ow, I've been damaged, dumps these chemicals in your blood, and the chemicals make it to your bone marrow, and hey, white blood cells, let's go. Okay? When they come out, they don't swim in your blood. Got it? They walk along the walls. Got it? They crawl along the walls like this. Got it? They just stay on the wall. Okay? But they cling to the wall. And think about it. What's the margin of your paper?
Sides.
The sides. Got it? Like the size of your blood vessel walls. Okay? Margin. So margination. And then they can do this, which no other cells can do. Diapedesis. What's your pedal? Your foot. So, foots do what? Feet. Foots. Feet do what? Walk. And dia means freely. This is freely walking. Got it? Well, actually, freely moving. And what are they doing? They can squeeze right through the walls of the capillary. Right through the walls of your blood vessels. That's diapedesis. Now remember, we know other words that start with dia, which means freely. Diabetes, freely peeing. Diarrhea, freely pooping. Diaphoresis, freely sweating. Got it? Dia always means freely. So that's what they can do. Right through the walls. Okay? How does this neutrophil know to go here? Why doesn't he go here? Because of the last word. Number 4, chemotaxis. Chemo, a chemical. Taxis, tactile. It's feeling its way for these chemicals. What chemicals? These inflammatory chemicals released by the damaged tissues. The neutrophils know exactly where to go. You follow the trail of these chemicals, and guess what it's going to lead you to? The damaged tissue, that's a splinter. Well, what's going to come in whenever you have a cut or a scrape? The bacteria, and they're there to eat them up. So it's perfect. Got it? They know exactly where to go. It's not a guess. And because their job is eating anybody who's a bacteria, they're non-specific. Remember? Your number 1 and number 2 lines of defense are non-specific. They don't care who the bad guy is. My job is to eat it, stop it, cut it in half, whatever. Are you with me? Okay. That's your mobilization. Alrighty. Fever. Fetus or pus. Dead and dying. Good guys, bad guys, and tissue. Alrighty. Okay, a fever. A fever. When you are being attacked by a bad guy, whether it's a virus or a bacteria, again, your damaged tissue is going to release a chemical into your blood, and those chemicals are called pyrogens to generate fire. Got it? Fire makers. Well, the fire we're talking about is fever. Alrighty? It's going to reset. It's going to tell your hypothalamus, to reset your temperature. Not 98.6, how about 101, 102? Got it? By increasing your temperature, running a fever, you do several things. The most important is this. It causes the liver and the spleen to sequester iron and zinc, making it unavailable for bacteria and fungi to use in order for them to multiply. Got it? So running a fever is good for you. Now, I'm talking about 110. That's cooking your brain cells. That's bad for you. But a typical 101, 102 fever is actually helpful. What does sequester mean? All right, have you ever watched, those law shows where there's a big old trial going on, the murderer's over here, and the trial is going to last 3-4 weeks. Are the jurors, the 12 plus the extras, are they allowed to go home at the end of each day? No, because the defense people don't want you to go home and talk to your wife and talk to your husband, talk to your relatives, talk to your neighbors. Hey, is this guy guilty? Is this guy... Oh yeah, of course he's guilty. You need to put him in jail, right? Or, no, this guy's innocent. You need to... Because as a juror, you're only supposed to listen to two people. The defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney. Not everybody else. Got it? Besides, what if you go home and ain't nobody home? You still got the internet. You still got TV. Okay? So, in order to be fair, jurors are held in a hotel. That's called sequestering the jury. Got it? So when we sequester iron and zinc, we're holding it in the liver. Got it? Taking it out of the bloodstream. 10-4? All right. So, and when you're sequestered for jury duty, you're in the hotel room with no TV, no internet, no cell phone. Because they don't want you talking to anybody, seeing anything. Now you can watch rental tapes and stuff like that, but you can't watch the news. 10-4? Because you might be influenced by some talking head on CNN. Does that make sense? And that's why people hate being on murder trials, because that might take a long time. Okay? All right, so here we are. We're creating it ourselves, endogenous, created inside, because your cells are the one producing these pyrogens, all right, see, from within. And not only do we sequester, but by increasing our body temperature, it speeds up the activity of your neutrophils, and it speeds up the repair of any damaged tissues. Got it? And by slowing down the multiplication of the bad guys, by taking away their zinc and iron, our white blood cells can speed up while these guys are slowing down. Got it? And when our white blood cells can multiply faster than the bad guys, who's going to win? The good guys. And you know what we call that? A break in the fever. Got it? That's a break in your fever. In fact, here's how it works. There's your normal. Then we have an onset of fever. There's the stadium, the highest part. I think they call it like a stadium, just like a stadium. Can't you sit way at the top? Okay? And when the fever breaks, defervescence. Not effervescence, but defervescence. All right? Just say fever goes down. But they got to have a scientific name for it. Make sense? Okay. All right, so that's that. That's your course of a fever. All right. Let's see what else we have before we get B and T cell. Okay. We can do... Perforin is a chemical that is produced to perforate or create holes in the membrane of a bad guy. Got it? And so your non-specific natural killer cells do that. All right? But so do your T cytotoxic cells. And we'll talk about that in just a second. All right. Your B and T cells have two specific functions. And that's why I like this slide I found online. All righty? What is the big difference between B and T cells? Remember, they're both lymphocytes. They look exactly alike. But they have two totally different functions. The B cells make antibodies which do what? Attack a bad guy, a pathogen, while it's still freely floating in the blood or in the lymph. Got it? But once they get inside one of your cells, these antibodies can't reach it. Well, are we just going to let them multiply? No. Your T cells say, okay, I'll attack the cell that got infected. I will drill holes also with perforin and destroy the virus inside while it is being created. 10-4? Or the bacteria, if it's the kind that goes into your cells. Got it? So this doesn't kill, it identifies the bad guy, like putting powdered sugar or glaze or sprinkles on the outside of a plain donut. That's what B cells do. They make antibodies just to identify that's the bad guy. Okay, go sick them. All right, and the T cells will go after the bad guy that's already entered. Okay, all right. Now I know the next thing is what's an antibody? Yeah, okay. An antibody is those shaped things. What do we call antibodies? Another name for an antibody. Antibodies are what? For something or against something? Against. They are against pathogens. Little bodies that your B cells make that are against pathogens. Okay? Now, what is a pathogen? It's this. It's an what? Gen. What's gen mean?
To create.
To create. An antigen is anything that forces your B cells to create antibodies. Are you with me? That's what an antigen is. It's something foreign to you or foreign to me. Got it? What do I call something that's not foreign? Self. What do I call something that's foreign? Non-self. Got it? And that's why, and we're not done yet, but next time we're going to talk about B and T cells going to school. What do they go to school for? Reading, writing, arithmetic? No. Can you tell self from non-self? Because do you want to attack self or do you want to attack only things that are non-self? What do you call the disease when all of a sudden your B and T cells are attacking self? Autoimmune disease. See? You are now using your immune system against you. And that's rheumatoid arthritis. Got it? That's Hashimoto's. That's lupus. Okay? All right. Are we good? So, I know we need to talk about complete and incomplete. All right? What is a complete antigen? It's anything that is, regardless of who you are, your body will react to it. Got it? It is something that is so foreign to any one of us that all of us will have antibodies being produced against it. All righty? Because it's complete. Now watch this. Is this complete? No. That's what an incomplete antigen is. Got it? It's in this shape. But if it enters you, it's not complete. So guess what? You don't see it, so you don't react to it. But let's say, for example, this enters you, and look what you have inside you. A protein that only you make that completes the shape of this antigen. Now, you are allergic to it, but you're not. Got it? Does that make sense? Have you heard of some people being allergic to ragweed, but not this? Or to this kind of pollen, but not that? Have you heard people, you break out with this kind of soap or this kind of makeup, but not everybody? Got it? So those are all incomplete. And the reason they're complete is because you make a protein that completes its shape. Now all of a sudden it's a bad guy that your white blood cells concede, your B and T cells react to. Got it? If I don't have that protein, then I can't see it as a bad guy, and I don't create a reaction against it. I don't make antibodies. Got it? That's why somebody's got pollen allergies, and I don't. But I've got poison ivy allergy, and some other people can touch it, no problem. Got it? So what's a complete antigen? What is something that everybody reacts to?
Poison?
Well, things like bee sting, wasp sting, rattlesnake bite. Got it? Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to react to it. Then for? Because it's so darn foreign. Got it? Fire ant bites. I've never heard of anybody getting stung and bit by a fire ant and go like, no problem. You're going to get something. Have you ever been stung by a fire ant? How many welts do you see when they get you? 3. Look carefully. Next time you actually step in a fire ant mound, you'll see 3 welts showing up. Okay? A little bit of pus on the inside. Got it? This is where it bit you, and that's where it stung you. They've got poison in their mandibles and poison in their stinger. Yes, that's one of the few ants with a stinger, like a wasp. Okay? And that's why it hurts like fire. Got it? Hurts like fire. 10-4, fire ants. They're the ones with the big mounds. Got it? In your yard or on the side of the road? Yeah, they're pretty bad. All right. These complete antigens include proteins and certain things like that, but which one is the strongest? The one that gets most of us? Proteins. Why? Shape. Got it? These poisons like rattlesnake venom and stuff like that are a protein. Think about it. We call it venom, right? Well, guess what the scientific name of the protein in venom is called? Venin. If it ends in IN, what is it? A protein. Yeah. Okay. All right, see? Everything else is an incomplete antigen. And you can classify it as you get a reaction, I don't. Or I get the reaction and you don't. That proves it's incomplete. Alrighty? That's why you're allergic to that. And I'm not. Or you're hypersensitive to this chemical or that chemical. Alrighty? See, that's why things like animal dander, poison ivy, that's me, certain detergents, makeup, penicillin. Can't somebody be allergic to penicillin and other people are not? Well, what's penicillin? It ends in? It's a protein. It's just the shape that you can't handle.
So, if, let's say, a bee sting would be a complete antigen,
Yes.
why would one person is allergic to bees, whereas another person isn't? Like, it isn't as big of a deal.
Okay, well, there it's because you've got a protein in you that makes it a more detrimental chemical, causing your mast cells, not your basophils, to release histamines. Got it? And when the histamines are released, there go your blood vessels, anaphylactic shock, boom. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's deadly for some people. Just like shellfish. Got it? If it's a little bit bad for you, you get an upset stomach. If it's a lot bad for you, there go your blood vessels, and there goes your heart. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends. It's all individual. Got it? But thank goodness I love when I eat some seafood. Thank God I don't have a shellfish allergy. Okay? But again, what is it that makes it an allergen? It's protein. It's the protein of the shellfish. Got it? The protein of the peanut. Got it? Gosh, I can't imagine life without eating peanut butter. Love me a good peanut butter sandwich. But if you're allergic to peanuts, it'll kill you. Got it? Because your body overreacts. Not only are you creating antibodies, you're also creating more histamines, which is what causes the anaphylaxis. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else we can cover without going too far. Okay, we can do epitopes and then we'll stop. Okay? All right, let's go to this. Okay. You see, that's the bad guy. These Y-shaped things are your antibodies. Oh, I was about to explain an antigen, an antibody. Okay. You see, this is an antibody. It's Y-shaped, okay? But what is the scientific name for an antibody? Gamma globulin. So it's a globular-shaped protein. Because in reality, it's not a little tight Y, it's a glob. Okay? But it's shaped like what? A Y. Well, that's where this comes in. Gamma is the letter G, okay, in the Greek alphabet. However, did they draw a G the way we do? No. This is G in the Greek alphabet. Doesn't that look like a Y? So does this. So we say this is a Y-shaped globular protein. That's why it's called gamma globulins. And you might remember that we did this earlier. What shot do we give a Rh negative mom?
I can't remember.
Well, it's Rh, and it's a gamma globulin, and we put an O in the middle to join it. Rogam.
Yeah.
That's the Rogam shot. Got it? It's an antibody against mom's antibodies. It glues them up so they can't cross the placenta and hurt the baby. Got it? So it's an antibody against an antibody, what it is. Okay? Now, antibodies are kind of small. So antibodies only have this much space to set up a receptor. Got it? So this is only going to work on something shaped like that. Is it going to work on something shaped like this? No. I need another antibody that has this shape. Does that make sense? It's all about shape, shape, shape. All right? So, the whole bad guy, the whole antigen, could have this shape, and this shape, and this shape. And so 1, 2, even 3 different antibodies could stick itself onto this bad guy. Got it? So it's not the whole bad guy that the antibodies stick to, it's a special determinant, a special shape that sticks out. Now it's also called an epitope, because what's epi mean? Out, on the surface. It's surface type. That's what epitope means, surface type. Okay? And that's what this is. So would a rounded end work here? No. You know, it wouldn't work here either. Got it? So the B cell that makes rounded ends on their Y-shaped antibodies couldn't help us here. But this antibody could help, and this antibody can help. Remember, what do antibodies do? They just stick to the outside and make it a red flashing sign, eat this guy. Because that's what Pac-Man's going to do. So you're looking for anybody who's coated in antibodies.
The more antibodies, the better then.
Yes, the more antibodies, the better.
Okay.
Got it? And that's the whole idea. We're going to talk about that actually next time. Okay? The more antibodies, the better. 100%. Okay. Next time, we'll talk about B cells and T cells and how they go to school and what they do for a living. And that'll be another good little video. Okay? Bye-bye.